raspy voice just raped its way into my soul. What was it? Just keep repeating. Ah. There's so much pain in that voice, but also so much conviction. Ah. It wasn't the front man's voice. It wasn't trying to be. But it had something else, something raw and true and powerful. Ah. It was simple, very simple, unabashed, in your face, uninhibited. It was punk in the way that it made me feel. Hey, I can do that. I couldn't, of course, but that's what great art does sometimes. The year was 2005, and it was the first time I heard a song by John Frusciante. I lived in Oakland at the time. Both of my roommates were musicians. This was at the height of the post-Napster music piracy. Greg, one of my roommates, would download dozens of new albums every week and audition them. He would leave the door to his room open and would constantly have an eclectic array of music blasting into the sunny living room. I didn't care much for most of it. But John's voice spoke to me directly. I burst into Greg's room breathlessly. "What is this?" I demanded to know. "The song is Carvel. The singer is John Frusciante. He does this 6 album in 6 months kind of project. Most of it crap, in my opinion." Greg had very strong opinions when it came to music. "I never heard of him," I said. "Oh, he's the guitar player for the Red Hot Chili Peppers." The Red Hot Chili Peppers? That jock band? All I knew of Red Hot Chili Peppers at the time was Under the Bridge, which I liked, of course, who doesn't? I'd heard Give It Away on MTV, but it wasn't really for me at the time. Flea and Anthony were the face of the band. Anthony in particular gave it the jock vibe, which I was so averse to. I mean, seriously, if I had to put an adjective to describe the music of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it would probably be extroverted, aka not for me. But what I was hearing here, when I try, I force it out, never looking in, only out. It's talking about that exactly, the opposite of what Red Hot Chili Peppers was about. The music I was hearing was introspective, self-aware, and psychologically delicate. It was unmistakably a silent echo, my kind of music. I'm not gonna lie though, the fact that he wasn't the Red Hot Chili Peppers made me a little starstruck. It gave it legitimacy for me. I've heard some obscure tortured artists before come and go and wasn't as impacted. The fact that he wasn't Chili Peppers, it was validating. Like he was vetted by millions of people and got a seal of approval. He was part of this polished machine. But what I was hearing from him, solo, was just so raw on all levels. And yet, it was still pop, still catchy. Because as a composer, Frusciante can't help but tap into the zeitgeist. Lyrically, there was a poetic truth in the work. It doesn't form a cohesive narrative by any stretch of the imagination. Instead, it's a instinctive juxtaposition that creates flashes of imagery and feeling. The sacred versus the mundane. Heaven receives you and throws you back to driving to eat a Carvel cake. I don't know. I was alone with John for at least a decade. I had copied all these illegal files of Greg's. Many songs were missing because Greg had the habit to immediately delete a song he disliked after one listen. So there were gaping holes. The old cheap MP3 players wouldn't display album names or even song names. So the songs remain nameless, just fragments floating in my cheap MP3 players through my cheap headphones, like little secrets between me and a voice that understood. And then, one day, scrolling through YouTube in the early days, I found you. Other people who heard what I heard. It started with Tim and Cameron's channel of covers, beautifully rendered covers. Frusciante world making visually striking music videos to these obscure songs. And more recently, the Shadow Colliders from my home country of Israel. And millions of commentators on Red Hot Chili Pepper channels, John Frusciante channels. I wasn't alone. There were other people that shared my thoughts and my feelings. I mean, I was so mad at John when he quit the Peppers again in 2009. Like a friend who suddenly stopped calling. I was so mad when the lyrics disappeared into electronic soundscapes. The whole trick finger thing. When the song structures dissolved into abstract expressions. When he walked away from everything I thought I understood about him. Everything that spoke to me. How did he dare walk away from his talent for composition and songwriting and lyricism? And I found out I was not alone in my anger and the sense of abandonment. But what right did I have to be mad? As if he owed me anything. As if his journey belonged to anyone but himself. I know that now, and I'm grateful. Grateful for every note he shared, for every lyric I could connect to. Grateful that he found his way back to the mothership, that he's making new music again that I can relate to. Because to be clear, since those early days, I've become a big fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and an avid consumer of all of their discography. John is the reason for this channel. Like all the other silent echoes, he was there at the door of death, but he re-emerged from the edge of the abyss. That's why so many of his fans are tempted by the trite Jesus metaphor, I think. When he came back from the brink, John was armed with this amazing musical and lyrical power. He told us about all of his experiences, his death and rebirth, faith and fate, joy and pain. And he told us the tale so all of us less brave souls could vicariously live it out through him. Would a single bite of this Carvel cake send a newly sober John to heaven for a second and throw him back the second the sugar burns out of his bloodstream and congeals on his set of new fake teeth? I still don't know. But I'm no longer alone in wondering. What did that Carvel cake mean to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.